Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empathic Designer Podcast. I'm your host, Vaidishwaran. So, today we have a very special guest on our channel, and we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, especially for instructional designers. So, we're going to be talking about programming in e-learning. So I'm sure that as instructional designers, we have a lot of questions and a lot of doubts in our minds when we work with the programming team, especially because we typically work more with graphic designers than programmers. So I thought that this is a very good topic for us to discuss today, and I've got the perfect expert to talk about this particular topic with us. So I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. Cader. So Mr. Cader is the CEO and founder of Hasna Technology, and he has over 15 years of experience in the field of web development, especially in the e-learning domain. He has worked with a lot of large clients like Microsoft, Rolls-Royce, HSBC, etc. And I myself have had the privilege of working with him on a lot of projects. And Kader is one person who is really known for his diligence and his out-of-the-box thinking when it comes to providing solutions for clients. So I'm very, very happy to have him over here. And to add to that, Kader also has extensive experience when it comes to developing mobile applications and also applications in augmented reality and virtual reality. So his company, Hasna Technology, is registered in Singapore, and they have a functional office based out of Chennai. And they really focus on developing trendy web and mobile applications. They also do a lot of custom e-learning development and do a lot of web development using some of the latest web frameworks and tools and all of the good stuff, basically. So Kader, once again, please welcome to our channel, the Empathic Designer Podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be a part of this podcast, and also for your kind words and introduction. It was good. Thank you for inviting.
Thanks, Kader. So to start with, over the last few decades, and I don't even want to go back into decades, I just want to, over the last few years, let's say over the last few years, we are seeing such a shift in the e-learning industry from a technology perspective. So in today's L&D scenario, what do you think is the role of a programmer?
Actually, today's scenario, you talked about the last few years. The last few years, there will be a change in the programming field or in the development field of e-learning, where the Flash has been completed or it's been removed from the web technology perspective, and then we need to cope up what Flash has delivered for the last decade. We need to come up with some new solutions, new technologies or new framework for those what Flash has done for so many years. So for that, HTML has been improved, like HTML5, and a lot of frameworks, and the community is working on those. But still, there are a lot of improvement when compared to Flash. Okay, so these are the challenges that we have, and daily there is an update, there is a library coming in, so we need to learn what they are doing it, and we need to cope up with the industry's experts and what they are doing. And we are actually, those are the challenges, as well as the increase in mobile device, the learning in mobile device. So we need to come up with a solution where we need to use the space of the mobile to give the learner what we can give it in that small space, or how we can improve the learning quality on that mobile. So these are the challenges that we have as a programmer for this coming years.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that, Kader. So another thing, when we talk about today's trends, one of the challenges that we instructional designers face is when we go to our clients and we talk about the various design solutions that we provide, we are often at a loss when it comes to actually the programming tools that you guys use, because we are familiar with tools like Photoshop and Flash and things like that. They've been around for ages. But when it comes to programming tools, and especially the kind of shift that we are seeing in today's industry, there are a lot of new tools and technologies coming in. So if you can tell our listeners on some of the common programming tools that we use for the various types of learnings.
Yeah, you're absolutely true, because no, nowadays the tools are like, I mean, a lot of tools are there. We can use rapid tools, and we can use HTML5 for the custom developments and for mobile. So each of the tool has their own advantages and disadvantages, and it depends on what is the requirement actually is. If the client needs something very quickly and it has a lot of content in it, it's better to go with the storyline or Rise or Captivate, which is known for it. You can develop this content very quickly. But if a client needs mobile first solution where you want the learners to read content in mobile, so there are a lot of gaps in this rapid development tool as well. They are doing it, but still there are a lot of gaps. So we prefer to go with the HTML5 solutions, but it takes a little bit of time when compared to the rapid development. So there are a lot of challenges. It depends on what the requirement is, and sometimes we suggest tools. Sometimes it's planned with the client, so they don't suggest any tools, but sometimes they will come up with, no, we need this in storyline, so we need to cope up with the tool. So when it comes to tool, no, for mobile development, we will preferred for HTML5, and for the rapid desktop solutions, we go for the rapid tools like Storyline, Rise, or any other Captivate and tools like that. And now also there are scope for AR, VR. So we used Unity 3D to control those 3D objects, and to create those 3D objects, we use 3D Max or Maya to create and render the 3D object models.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Thanks, Kader. And okay, so let me talk about the other side now. So, how do you think? What do you think? I mean, if you can give us some advice on how we instructional designers should take our requirements to programmers.
That's a good question. Actually, I mean, the usual way is, once the storyboard is ready, it will be given to the client for the sign off. Once it is signed off, it will be given to us for the development. So if there is, we feel that if there is any improvement or if there is any suggestion that we can give, no, it sometimes it's not taken because it's signed off. So what I would suggest is, no, at least one page in each course. If there is a improvement or if there is any opportunity to improve the content, so we can discuss those. We had certain sessions on those in our previous company where we used to develop a single page and in the meeting room, instead of the ID is doing it. We have a graphic designer, programmer, and the instructional designer discussing that page. So it will have that scope for the improvement. Whether it's a simple concept or it's a complex game, we will have a discussion, we'll have a brainstorming section, and then we will be, as a programmer, we will be seeing a lot of things in the web industry. So we wanted to bring those in the e-learning industry as well. So we will showcase those to the IDs. So that conversation will give us something to us. Sometime it will be taken, sometime it will be parked in the shelf, but it is a very useful conversation, and we can use that in another course if it's not in the current project. But it is useful. So I would prefer an ID to contact the programmer before creating, or if they feel that there is a scope for the improvement, so we can interact and then we can come up with the better solutions rather than having a repeated page layouts. That would be my suggestion.
Absolutely, Kader. I think you've brought up a very important point over here with regard to creating prototypes, because that is, I think, one of the things that we have done a lot, the two of us. And I mean, the number of changes and the number of surprises that often crop up when we do these prototypes actually has a major impact in terms of the timelines of the project and how we even scope the project. And that actually brings me to my next question. So one of the serious points of contention that I often encounter is, I mean, this is between instructional designers and programmers, is when we discuss timelines. Because somehow we instructional designers don't really understand the logic behind how the timelines really work for programmers, because at least when we work with graphic designers or SMEs, we see stuff that we understand. We see images, we see some text, we understand. But when it comes to programmers, it's only lines of code, and we're like, okay, so why do you need so much time for typing some codes? Don't you know the codes? So that's actually one of the things that really intrigues us instructional designers. So when we come up with challenges for you with regard to timeline, so how do you handle those as a programmer?
Actually, timeline, I mean, it's a good topic. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are at the end of the process of the project. Okay, I mean, whatever the timeline that the instruction designer or the SME is taking in the initial stages, we need to cope up with that timeline in the project, in the end of the project. So when it comes to programming, what we'll do is, once the storyboard is given to us, so we'll list down what all the pages are there. Okay, what can be, what all the programs or what all the codes can be reused. Okay, so we will categorize all those parts. Okay, and then if there is sometimes that sometimes if there is a complicated part is there, page is there in the design. So those part will be discussed in the earlier stages of the storyboard itself. So we will be creating those part in the initial stage with the placeholder text and images. So once you are ready with the storyboard, we can replace those. So these are some of the techniques that we use for the timelines. And we definitely, when it comes to custom HTML, we'll definitely go with the reusable codes. We don't want it to code again and again the same thing. We wanted to use the same code as many times as possible. So we framework the code such a way that we can reuse certain things, or we can use those things. So those are the parts which gives us which gives us the element of the timeline to be pushed. So the process of the development time can be reduced. So those are the things. And some part, some project we have developed some utility tools where there is a repeated content or repeated type of projects, or so we'll have a small tool where it can automate our process. It takes the content and puts the code automatically. Okay, but it depends on the projects and it depends on the timelines. If the project is huge, it goes for 1 year and there are a lot of modules in it, so it's good to go with it. But if it's a prototype or if it's a small project, it's better to go with the custom development. So it depends. And again, as usually you get the answer as it depends. It depends on.
But you have given some really good tricks of the trade over there for us. So next time when we go to the programmers, we're going to ask him, so what tools do you use? Can you develop some kind of a widget or something like that to automate it? So we're going to sound more smart to programmers going forward. So that actually brings me to my next question. So again, another thing that I've seen is programmers really struggling to gather information from instructional designers. We instructional designers are supposed to be professionals when it comes to understanding, delivering with clarity and things like that. But still, programmers find it as a challenge when it comes to gathering information. So what are some of the challenges you face when gathering information from instructional designers?
In most of the cases, the storyboards are clear, the instructions are clear in most of the cases. In some cases where the concept is new, or they want something where the customer is asking for some creative content, that's the part where we miss certain instructions, or the visualization is not there when the storyboard is written. So they might be missing some instructions. So while developing certain projects or pages, we come up with there might be mismatch with the instruction saying that for example, click on the below icon or drag the below icon. in the layout, it won't be in the below, or it might be in somewhere else or something like that. So
Okay.
those part, no, these are small things, but I mean, when it comes to viewing it in the program, no, it's a big I mean, error or a mistake. Okay, so those are the things, and sometimes, we were lost what needs to be done after this completion of task, or what the learner needs to do after this. So these are the
Mm.
things we might missing in new concept. So we will have a discussion, while it is developing. So we'll have a single section with 1 hour or half an hour, so that it can be cleared. And sometimes the ID is also not clear what needs to be done. So we'll have a session with the SME to clarify all those things, and we will be cooperating with those people. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so if that is the case, then what could you tell us a little bit more on what your expectations are from a designer in a typical project? Let's say HTML, let's say an HTML5 project. I mean, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
So what would be a typical, how would you like your inputs, or what are your expectations from instructional designers?
Yes. What I would expect now when it comes to HTML is now it is more of responsive design, where you wanted to design the same content for mobile as well as most of the people knows it, but they need to learn theoretical part of those techniques and what can be done in the HTML, what cannot be done in the HTML. So they come up with the background of Flash, or sometime the background of those storylines. So we wanted to have the exact output in this HTML. But in HTML, yes, we can do it, but it takes longer time to develop all those timelines, or things like that. Audio syncing, when it comes to audio syncing and things like that. So so if they can come up, if they can cope up with those theoretical part of the programming, like what is can be done, what can be improved, what is the advantages of HTML, so we can use those things. So those part, if they can come up with those, and it will be easy for us to communicate with them with the same language of HTML, so we can directly tell them this is the okay. So it will be easy for us to interact with them, unnecessarily explaining what the concept is. So that is the one thing that I would suggest ID to, ID to be there.
That was a very revealing fact for us, because as instructional designers, we put in so much effort to understand what our clients are telling and what our clients are expecting, that we often forget what our own colleagues, our programmers, our graphic designers are expecting from us, and how as instructional designers we should take conscious efforts to understand them better and really work with them. So Kader, that was a very interesting observation, and I think instructional designers is this something that instructional designers should really practice. So that actually takes me to my next question. I mean, since you were talking about mobile development, this is another burning question that has been there in a lot of instructional designers' mind, is when we talk about mobile applications, and since you are an expert in that, we would like to know what exactly is the difference between a native application and a web-based application, and which is, I mean, what are the benefits of choosing either one, or what are some of the features, or how do you compare these two?
Actually, it's a good question. No, when it comes to mobile, everybody wants to create an app, or wanted to render that in the mobile devices. But when it comes to developing, there are two types. One is, like you said, native, and the other one is hybrid, or a web-based application. It is like native is you can utilize all the features which are there in the Android or the iOS. But when it comes to web or the hybrid development, it's a code which runs on the browser. When you launch, there are applications which has compiled as a app, but when you launch that app, usually it runs a web browser inside that app, and actually the HTML part will be rendered inside the app. So for the user it is an app, but for the developer it's not. So both of them has their own pros and cons. For example, in native, like I said, the cons would be for iOS. You need to have a different sort of codes and languages. You need to have a separate team for it, and for the Android, you need to have a separate team. So the production time will be increasing as well as the cost. When it comes to web, you can use the same code to publish it in the both the platforms. But at the same time, you can utilize geolocation, camera, and what are the features that are there in the mobile devices. You can use freely, and the responsive time of it will be faster when it comes to the hybrid in the native application. So it has features. It has a lot of features in it. But the other part is the code is maintained in a single source where you can, if there is any update, so you can do it in one and then package it to the all the other. So these are the things. So when to use native, when to use hybrid is a good question, because people doesn't know when to use it. So if there is a need of utilizing the utility of the mobile devices like camera, geolocations, and things like that, it is better to go with the native app. And if it's going to be only the information, and you are not bothered about there might be slight delay in response when it comes to HTML, but the user won't be able to do it. Might be milliseconds. Okay, so if that is the case, then you can go with the hybrid. So, but nowadays, I mean, there is a gap. So they are bridging those gaps. Now the technology has been improved. So they are coming up with React Native and Flutter, where you can develop the code in one source, and you can have the native application from this. So it is converting your HTML and JavaScript code to native applications. So they are using it, but still, I would say it is in the initial stages. No, it has. I mean, a lot of people are using it, but there is an update frequently, and it's not stable. So things like that. So I mean, the industries are growing with those parts.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So, Kader, so from what he said, basically what I'm getting is when it comes to developing applications for iOS and Android, it's two separate things, right? You can't create an application in iOS and just reuse it on Android.
Yes, for the native development.
For native applications, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's some great information. So again, when we talk about mobile applications, Kader, so can you tell us some of the tools that you use for developing mobile applications?
For Android, I mean, for the native Android application, we use Java and Android Studio, which is the IDE for the Android development. And when it comes to iPhone or the iOS devices, it's Xcode and Objective-C. Like I said, we can use React Native. It's a framework developed by the Facebook, and a lot of people and the community are there in the internet where they're improving a lot in it. And it is HTML, and it is a JavaScript framework. So it converts, once it is developed, it converts the code. Some people say it is rendering, but some says like it converts to its original native application like iPhone and Android. So so those things, and the web part is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS for the hybrid development.
Okay, great. So again, now I just want to shift our focus to the instructional designers' favorite rapid e-learning tools. Okay. So it gives us, I mean, those tools kind of gives us a sense that we are developers ourselves. So, so we have tools like, because we write triggers and things like that, so it gives instructional designers a sense of excitement. So when we talk about tools like Lectora or Storyline or probably Captivate, so what is your opinion on using such tools in today's learning scenario?
Definitely. I mean, those tools are helping us to develop the project. I mean, faster. It is like its name, the rapid development is there, and anybody can use it. The programmer is not needed in most of the cases. And I would suggest, still there is some gap when it comes to responsive design. They are doing it, and they are developing it, but still there are some issues with it. Okay, when it comes to a desktop development or resizing the entire project, yes, storyline are good. But when it comes to responsive, there are gaps. So they are improving it. So I would suggest, if there is any PPT conversion, or if there is any level one kind of courses wanted to do it, then you could go with the rapid development. But if it's a complex design, or if it's going to be some gaming or some kind of simulations, or some kind of those extra kind of things, then it is better to go with the programmer's HTML5. Okay. So that's
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for your time, Kader. I just have one last question for you. So, so when we talk about e-learning, e-learning industry and programming, what do you see is the future? Let's say over the next 5 years, and what do you think you personally at Hasna Technologies would be doing to work towards the next 5 years, and how do you see the shift happening in our industry?
yeah, like we mentioned, no, there are a lot of space open for the learner and the development perspective. When it comes to developers, there are a lot of scope for the tools to be developed for the responsive designs. And so we at Hasna Technology also developing some in-house tools to create the e-learning faster and responsive manner. Also, the web industries is evolving a lot. So we wanted to bring those web industry standards, like the React or the Angular's concept frameworks, to the e-learning industries as well. And the AR, VR also a lot of things are happening. So we wanted to bring those 3D into the e-learning. So we're working on all those part, and we are also working on the SaaS products to create e-learning tools. So there are a lot of things in our pipeline as well for the next 5 years. So we are taking steps one by one, and then let's see how it goes, and let's hope for the best.
Great. So, thanks a lot, Kader, for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming and talking to us over the Empathic Designer podcast. And for my listeners over here, so Kader is one of the best programmers that I worked with. And if you would like to reach out to him, I'll be putting a link to his company's website in the description section below of my video. And you can just click onto that and say hi to Kader. So once again, Kader, thanks a lot for making it to the Empathic Designer podcast. We really appreciate your spending time with us over here.
Thank you, Iti. Thank you, because it has been a good session. We had long time had a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's been a good, it's been a good. I'm also brushing up with the the previous stories that we had. That's good. Thank you so much for inviting me for this
Great.
podcast.
Great. Thanks, Kader. See you later then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.